why critics should hush hush when it comes to the Suns' #1 pick, Deandre Ayton, why Americans suck at soccer, at least the U.S. men's national team, and why the Trump administration never had any intention of reuniting separated families. These stories and more next on the 520. Well, welcome to the 520. I'm Steve Nunez.
I'm Marty Mata IV. Thanks for joining us. And Steve, I could smell that thing when you pulled in the parking lot.
Look, are you jealous of the scarf coming back out?
The stench stale is in the skies.
Soccer fans came out and they're all wearing their scarves. Guess what happened to me the other morning? My scarf tapped me on the shoulder, woke me up, and said, it's time to show the rest of the world who's really representing. U of A and the 520, baby. Better than that Paola Pagola green sweater you're wearing there in the month of June.
You don't know what's going on here.
You're not even getting paid for that Paola Pagola.
That's all right. It's exclusive.
That's the sad part.
Exclusive.
That's the sad part. Scarf pays me, baby. Ready to get started?
Let's do it. Let's do it.
All right. Well, should so-called NBA gurus who criticize the Phoenix Suns for taking ex-Wildcat Deandre Ayton as the #1 pick just shut the hell up? Well, Ayton became the first Arizona player to be picked #1 in the NBA draft and the Suns' first #1 pick in franchise history, but some experts blasted the pick, claiming Ayton is too much like an old-school center, doesn't have the motor to play today's run-and-gun style. What say you?
So I'm going to start talking, Steve, and I need you to hold the eye rolls till it's your turn.
All right, I'll try.
What we saw from Deandre Ayton last year is what we're going to get in the NBA. He is a very concrete player, super concrete, but that means he doesn't have a lot of room for improvement. Good for the Phoenix Suns because they have less to correct. He's like a bodybuilder. There's no more room to grow muscle, so all he's going to do is tone the game. With that being said, I finally like this pick. I finally like this pick because Deandre Ayton is completely aware that the Phoenix Suns are just using him to get over the hump. All he's here to do, suck up the defense, let Jackson and Booker do what they do. With that being said, my only worry with this, Deandre Ayton has to be the most consistent player on the court. Anytime he gets his touches on the court, he has to sink his field goals, he has to sink his threes, he has to sink his layups, or the decoy facade will go away in a second.
All right, you made your point. Let me roll my eyes now. That was the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard you say, was Deandre Ayton only has this much room for improvement. Are you kidding me? His upside is ridiculous. It's off the charts. And I will say, he is the next Messiah coming. He is the upcoming savior for the Suns who will end their 8-year playoff drought. Deandre Ayton will do exactly what the Suns want him to do. And you know what that is? He will play defense. He will clog up the middle. He will block shots. He will alter shots. He will rebound. He will dish the ball out to the point guard for transition basketball to do exactly what the Suns are really good at. Run and gun. And he'll be able to maintain that motor like he did at Arizona. I love what Deandre Ayton is going to bring to this Suns team. It's right where we need him to be. My guess, he's going to average 15 points, 11 rebounds, 1.2 blocks a game, and at least 2 assists.
Fumes might be getting to your head from the scarf, Steve. Fumes might be getting to your head from the scarf.
And you know what's going to make Deandre even better? This right here. Tucson Ristic. Oh yeah.
I tell you what, when I got the news about Ristic and the Phoenix Suns and their agreement, it's the safest gamble of the year. If they're able to develop Ristic into, at the very least, another Deandre Ayton, this is going to be a very scary team in the West.
This team is going to be super scary with that 1-2 punch of possibly Ristic with Ayton. You know who they remind me of, and you know who this team is going to be modeled after, in my opinion, and my guess? David Robinson, Tim Duncan, San Antonio Spurs, who won NBA titles, baby. That's what I'm talking about. 2 big 7-footers with those skill sets, unbelievable.
And I'm just trying to say that the Suns picked up Deandre Ayton and Ristic to be underneath Jackson and Booker. Jackson and Booker will be the face of the franchise. Those guys
They might be the face of the franchise, but the winner chicken dinner combination of these two big 7-footers, baby.
I don't know if they could be Titans
like that.
That's how it
rolls. Come on.
Well, back to more basketball. How many Wildcat players will it take to go undrafted before others learn it's just stupid to leave school early? In the last 3 years, 5 Wildcat players chased their dreams a little too early, but did not get drafted, including Brandon Ashley, Chance Comanche, Kobe Simmons, Raleigh Alkins, and Alonzo Trier.
It's just one of those things where you just say, stupid is the key word. And the reason is because there are just, and it goes back to what we've talked about all season long. There are way too many damn people around that athletic program whispering in these kids' ears, telling them how great they are and enticing them to leave for the riches when there really aren't any riches if they don't get drafted. I mean, making it in the G League is not something to write home about. It's not rolling up in a, Mercedes with gold-plated rims or anything. $5,000 to $75,000 is the max you can make in the G League. If you get called up and you play a couple of NBA games, you get a prorated amount between anywhere from, who knows, below $500,000. Look, man, you're looking at making maybe $50,000, $150,000 a year. That's not writing home, something to write home about. It's ridiculous. Too many people whispering in their ear. They are not that good. Stay in school.
These recruits love Tucson as much as Sean Miller. And that's the joke about it, is that's not a lot of love. I'm just surprised that when Sean Miller brings all these kids into Tucson, Arizona, and they immediately get buyer's remorse about what they get themselves into. That's why he gets himself into these positions where he has to say, these players don't play for me.
And I will agree with you on that because it's all about managing expectations, which the U of A has not been able to do. Consider Lute Olson when he managed expectations with Jason Terry. 1997 national title year, Jason Terry was the 6th man of the year. Okay, guess what? He's had a 20-year NBA career since he stayed all 4 years in college and then went to the NBA. Look at that, man. The guy is set for life now. Now that is a winner. That is listening to the people, the right people, and staying in school.
I agree.
All right.
I agree.
Well, it's time now for rapid fire. I fire off local sports topics. Artie gives a rapido response. Rapido, quick, all right? Sports Illustrated named Arizona's Khalil Tate as the 4th best player and top quarterback in college football. Too much hype, too soon.
I don't think that's too much hype. I think he deserves it, but like I said, everyone except for Khalil Tate is going to determine Khalil Tate's success.
I will say the Scarf thinks it's too much hype, too soon, but we love Khalil Tate. We have to see, all right? Well, where does the Arizona Cardinals receiver Larry Fitzgerald rank among NFL receivers?
I think he's in the top 5, but he's not in the top 3. These last few years are going to determine a lot for him.
Who's better?
A.J. Green, Antonio Brown, those are just a few names. Fitzgerald's good at a few things, really good at a few things. Those guys are better at a lot more things.
Mr. Consistency, though. You
Of
gotta
course,
love it.
of course.
All right, former Wildcat and Golden State Warriors 3-time NBA champion Andre Iguodala took some heat when he openly hit on Luka Doncic's mom on Twitter on NBA draft night.
He's always had a little bit of lip on the court.
But he's classier than that.
That's his personality. I'm not surprised by that.
Look, no mama jokes and no hitting on mama, especially on NBA draft night.
Limits.
That should be a
Off
rule,
limits.
period. Well, Duke transfer and now Arizona center Chase Jeter, who has yet to play a single second of basketball in more than a year, is projected as a late second-round pick in the 2019 NBA mock draft.
Man, we were just here. We were just here a segment ago. I don't care about this. We're gonna be here next year doing the same segment.
So
I don't
you're
care
punting
about
on this one?
I'm already punting.
Your first punt. Thank you. I know, it's a stupid topic for people to be talking about right now. Yeah. Well, Arizona picked up his 3rd commitment of the weekend when 6'3", 205-pound, 3-star linebacker Quabina Watson decided to become a Wildcat, passing up offers from USC, Oregon, and SEC schools, LSU, Mississippi State, and Ole Miss.
Well, that's what comes with the big sexy hire that is Kevin Sumlin. A little bit of notoriety, but he's a 3-star linebacker. LSU, Oregon, USC, they might have passed up on him for a reason.
But they wanted him.
They wanted him to be depth, I would say.
Okay, fair enough. Well, new Texas A&M football coach Jimbo Fisher, who took over for U of A coach Kevin Sumlin, recently stated that his predecessor's football office was, quote, like a damn nightclub, end quote.
That's uncalled for, a little bit irrational. He's still trying to sell the rest of the Aggies at College Station that he's the next guy. He's the Messiah. So it's a little bit out of line, I think.
That is way out of line.
Yeah.
That's a little bit not too classy. I expected more from Jimbo Fisher.
I
Quick,
do.
bonus. Mexico. Do they make it to the World Cup? Finals.
If they don't, I'm going to be surprised. It's going to take teams are going to have to play perfect to beat Mexico.
I love how Mexico is playing right now. It's awesome and it's fun to watch. All right, so why is it that Americans suck at soccer, at least when it comes to the men? No doubt, soccer or football is the most popular sport in the world. After Team USA failed to qualify, many thought interest in the World Cup would flop. But with the growing Latino population, it appears many Americans have adopted Mexico, as we just talked about, as their team.
Americans suck at soccer because they can't admit that they suck at soccer. There's too much ego that goes on in the athletic mind of an American. They're not studying the world's business operations just enough to where it can put them over the hump to be successful and competitive around the world. That's what I think they need.
Well, Americans, in my opinion, suck at soccer because all kids are nurtured to be what? Pro baseball, basketball, and football players. And then when you look at the big three, you're looking at all three have world stages. You're talking about baseball, World Series, NBA, might as well be world title, NBA, and football, of course, Super Bowl. So it's U.S. and world stage. Soccer, only every 4 years, soccer has a world stage called World Cup. And guess what happened this year? No Team USA. Darn right pathetic.
I agree. Back to some more football. Should children under the age of 12 be banned from playing organized tackle football? Hall of Fame quarterback Brett Favre is pushing for both state and federal laws to restrict tackle football for kids. The concern is over the growing number of concussions.
Look, I know you love yourself some Brett Favre.
One of my top 2 players.
Exactly. He's a Packer who pulled a LeBron, and let me just remind you of that, pulled a LeBron, left Green Bay to play for rival Minnesota Vikings.
It's okay.
And I know you want to soften the game of football. The only thing I'm going to say that I think would benefit your argument is that there's been 295 million concussions in players ages 5 through 14. 87% of kids who play tackle football suffer a concussion. But guess what? Parents, don't let your child play football then.
My stance on this, it's not just consensual. It's not like the FCC was watching swearing on the television. It's concussions aren't bad. Concussions aren't terrible. The lack of maintenance.
They're not terrible?
The lack of maintenance.
Really? How many concussions have you
terrible.
had that made you just make that statement?
The lack of maintenance is what makes them terrible. It's not like smoking where it's detrimental to your health. It's like obesity. Give me a second. It's like obesity. It's not life-altering unless it's not maintained, unless you're not attentive to it.
So when you have memory loss, you have migraines, you suffer medical conditions, can't work, you're disabled, that's not a life-changing condition?
It's the same thing as...
Making comments like that is not
thing.
Someone who's concussed?
It's the same thing as obesity. Obesity is a detrimental crisis to Americans, but people still have a little bit of weight on them and they're doing just fine. It's when it's not maintained, when you're not attentive to it, is when it's detrimental to your health.
Well, here's what I'm going to say too, though. My other point was, I don't want government overreach. I don't want the government to say, hey, kids, you can't play tackle football. I want parents to be smart about it and make that decision for their kids. Look, we all know it's dangerous. It's dangerous to play tackle football, but I just don't think it should be put or outlawed and put on the government to make that decision for parents. Parents need to be smart. Stop being stupid.
It's just like seatbelts, but I say, you know, when you're in Pop Warner, you have 3 weeks to train without pads before you throw on the pads. I say you got to add 3 weeks of education on top of that, because I do think it's it should be a priority.
I think you should be placed on concussion protocol right now for making some of those
Go put on IR.
All right, let's jump right into Do We Care? As you know, we love to tackle community issues and not just sports, and ask ourselves, do we care? Well, an hour after President Trump ordered an end to the separation of immigrant children from their mothers, an assistant U.S. attorney right here in Tucson told parents being prosecuted in federal court that their children were being held at the Border Patrol facility on Tucson's east side. That is according to the Arizona Daily Star.
Until it's been made a priority for the federal government to correct their mistake, we'll call it a mistake if you will, the only way to correct that mistake is there has to be a whole lot of resources, a whole lot of money getting put into reuniting every single one of those kids with their parents. Right now, there's no need for them to correct that. Until there's that need, we're just going to be right here in muddy water.
There is no plan to reunite these children with their parents. Absolutely no plan. How are you going to get through to people who speak Spanish and people who can't relate to them in Spanish? Right now, the plan is to put a lot of these kids in foster care. In Arizona, there are 17,000 kids in foster care. There's a backlog that the state is trying to recruit foster parents to house all of these kids. How are you going to be able to house these kids and throw them in foster care and not be able to track them and help them reunite with their family? It's pathetic. And it's sad. We should all care, and I keep saying this. If you don't care, you have no damn heart. It's that simple.
Moving on to the next one. In 2015, Congresswoman Martha McSally backed the Recognizing Americans Children Act, a GOP bill that would offer a path to citizenship for dreamers. But McSally withdrew her name from that bill in May, and earlier this month, her office deleted a YouTube video where she called for protections for dreamers.
McSally, the McSallout, McFlip-Flopper. That's what I'm going to call her. It's sad that she went back on her morals to sponsor a bill to provide a pathway for dreamers. We're talking about, yes, these were kids who were brought here to this country illegally as children, but no other country but the United States of America. They are firefighters, they are police, they are teachers, they are military service men and women,
graduates.
They are college graduates, they are doctors. And for her to turn a blind eye or to just pretend that she has nothing to do with them anymore is a big flip-flopper, period.
I agree, and we've said it time and time before.
It's sad.
She'll do anything for a little pat on the back from from the people above her. She reminds me of those foolish children on the internet, just embarrassing themselves just for a little bit of retweets. That's who Martha McSally is in the political world. Convince me otherwise.
Political sellout. All right. Tesla laid off 9% of its Tucson workforce last week, but the company wouldn't say how many employees actually lost their jobs.
With the recent corrections in the national market, Tesla was part of that. We can't blame them for wanting to make a business decision and trimming the fat. But if you work for Tesla, even at the entry labor level, you're pretty qualified to get a lot more other jobs. I'm not worried about them, but sucks to suck, I'm sorry.
9% could be 5 jobs, 9% could be 10 jobs, but you know what? Regardless of how many jobs that represents, high-paying jobs is exactly what we need in Tucson. No more call center jobs. We need high-paying jobs like this. So yes, this could affect us, but guess what, man? When you have Tesla and the cars are $100,000 a pop, it's hard to sell those cars right now. It really is.
I agree.
All right. Well, you've heard the phrase, oh, no, you didn't. Well, here at the 520, we're not afraid to tell it like it is with, oh, yes, we did. I will get started. Once again, we are being fed lies and more racist propaganda. Take a look at this photo right here. Former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee tweeted this photo of 5 tatted up MS-13 gangbangers stating they make up Nancy Pelosi's campaign committee. Well, some may think that's funny. I don't. I'm pissed off. Huckabee, like many Trump surrogates, are using images of MS-13 gangbangers to blatantly and falsely imply that they're all one and the same as the poor, innocent children being separated from their mothers and fathers at the border. So when the president equates all immigrants as rapists, criminals, and animals, it reinforces similar attempts to dehumanize a race of people. Now, all brown-skinned Latinos, young and old, are viewed as MS-13 gangbangers. History will tell you action to relocate or mass deport the same race of people is another sign of genocide. Yet, too many people have become complicit and pretend to turn a blind eye to it all. Worse, it affects Americans of Mexican descent, like myself, like Artie. I'm a sixth-generation Tucsonan. My family has been here since the 1880s. By the way, my family has served our country in World Wars I and II, the Korean, Vietnam, and Iraq wars. So now you want to call us illegal rapists, MS-13 gangbangers, and animals? So much for being a God-loving, all-American patriot. Purely hypocrites.
And before I go into mine, I do want to say to the opposition, I have Roman numeral tattoos, and it just represents the suffix in my name. I'm Artie Mata IV, and that has been deemed by many people gang-affiliated tattoos. So the whole phrase, if you're innocent, you have nothing to worry about, I have a whole lot to worry about right now.
That's BS.
A whole lot to worry about.
You're absolutely right, and that's what leads to racial discrimination.
I agree.
Show your tattoo.
Let's see if I can get it. I'll show
Okay.
it later.
You are not a criminal.
Yeah.
You are not a rapist. You are not a thug. But just that could lead to racial profiling and people perceiving you as such. And you're an American citizen.
Born and raised.
Case proven, man.
Back to sports to lighten the mood a little bit. How good is the Wildcat basketball program? One of the better ones, right? Deandre Ayton, the first Wildcat to go first overall, but not in the first round of the Sean Miller era. Derek Williams, Channing Frye, Stanley Johnson, Aaron Gordon, the list goes on. My only question is, how prepared has Sean Miller made these boys for the NBA? Because it seems to me we see this movie every few years. Wildcat in the top 5, and by the time the next one sees their time, the previous one is finding themselves fighting to play even 20 minutes a season. Don't say Lottie Markkinen, he used Arizona to be his minor league debut, got called up the following year. He doesn't count. How much has Sean Miller prepared these boys for the league? How can you be fighting for Player of the Year in the NCAA and drop like an anvil in the NBA draft? Name a Sean Miller era player that their skill set did not peak in the NCAA. As skilled as they were with Miller was as good as they were going to be. And yet, at the very least, Miller, you're one heck of a salesman. Why can't you sell to these kids that one more year at that prestigious program of yours? This is the hottest the seat has ever been in his career, and you better hope you develop these 2018 recruits to be competitive in the league. Better yet, just make it past the first round.
Well said, and I'll go back to what I said earlier. It's about managing expectations and making sure you are selling education first. I get there are some players like Derek Williams in 2011 who was picked number 2, who you have to go at that point, but at the same time, he needed to develop more and should have stayed another year, because now he's looking at being out of the league already 7 years later.
He'll get 5 minutes a season
He's
if
only
he stays.
26, 27 years old. You know, compare that to Jason Terry, who we talked about earlier, who's 40 years old and still in the league because he stayed all 4 years. Now you can turn to TJ McConnell and say, look at him. Wasn't drafted, but he stayed all 4 years, became a better player, and he's having a hell of a season and a hell of a career with the Philadelphia 76ers. Yep.
I agree.
All right. Well said. Well, before we go, take a look at this. Oh, yeah, the blessings of all blessings.
Blessings on blessings.
It even counts through the TV screen. Nana blessing Team Mexico when they played against Germany in the World Cup. That is incredible. That's hilarious.
That's what we need. That's what we need. Good luck to Mexico. Good luck to Mexico.
I wonder if she's using holy water too.
She might be. I wouldn't doubt it.
Look, you know, that is so typical of the Latino culture too. You know what I mean? Blessing.
Yeah.
It happens all the time.
Before you go to sleep, before you drive on a road trip.
blesses me all the time.
Yeah.
And then, now that I'm a father, I kind of do that to my daughter. I put my thumb on her forehead and I bless her. And it's just something we do. I have no idea why. We just do it. It's like
it's practice.
Yeah, it's practice, man. So you know what? I'm blessing my Wildcat. My Wildcats, baby.
Don't abuse the power.
Awesome.
Don't abuse the power.
All right. Well, that does it for this episode of the 520. Our goal is to tell it like it is because it's all about giving voice to opinions, even if you don't agree.
Be sure to follow the 520 on Facebook and on Twitter at the 520 Tucson.
And if you have a topic you want us to cover, send us an email at the 520@KVOA.com. I'm Steve Nunez.
I'm Artie Mata IV. Join us next week on the 520.
Go Wildcats, baby.